Hey, everybody. This is Justin Bogard. Welcome to the Real Estate Note Investing Be the Bank broadcast. Today is Wednesday, October 11th, 2023. We have our friend Cameron Andrews that he's going to be on today. He's got a cool case study about a hypothecation. We're going to kind of walk through the numbers on how that worked out and how you can have a little bit of money in the deal and make a very large return. So stay tuned. What's up, dudes?
Mr. Bogard, how is it in wonderful Indiana today?
Well, if you look out my virtual window, it looks lovely, right? And I look out my real window and it's getting kind of gloomy. I think it's getting ready to rain. So we're getting that 6 o'clock shadow coming in right now.
Mr. Cameron, how about down your way?
It is in the 70s, and we are in a drought. I would welcome a lot of rain. So I'll keep waiting for that to happen.
So Cameron, the audience hasn't had the pleasure of learning about you. So tell us where you're at right now.
Sure. Texas, Waco, Texas, which is kind of right in the middle. If you're familiar with I-35 and know that Dallas-Fort Worth and Austin are on I-35, we're kind of right in the middle of those two metropolitan areas.
Are you neighbors to Chip and Joanna?
I'm about literally 3 miles from their house right now, actually.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You're at the office?
Yeah.
All right. So Cameron, explain what you do for a living.
Yeah, so primary focus is I help operate a restoration and roofing company. I'm the CFO and have been for about 3.5 years. Started literally the day COVID kind of became official on March 16th of 2020. So we do property restoration. It's all triggered by unplanned events. A hot water heater breaks and floods the house, dishwasher, whatever, or a hailstorm, or a fire, or a hurricane, or. So we are kind of like the mobile emergency room for real estate, and go and fix and restore properties.
And you guys are all across the nation, right?
Texas, and then kind of the Gulf, and then up the coast, up through North Carolina is where we operate, where the bad weather is.
Yeah, it's just like you follow where the known storm activity is.
That's
seasonally, right?
That's right. Yep.
So you're down in Texas. You were did you say yourself a controller, or did you say CFO?
I'm the CFO.
CFO of your company, and obviously you have a family and stuff that lives there in Texas with you.
Correct.
And
Correct.
Talk a little bit about your family.
Yeah. So their picture is right. Where is it?
Oh, yeah, there they are.
Yeah, you're right. You got it.
Wish I could zoom in. But yeah, so wife of 21 years. We got married at 19, and then 3 kids. Current ages are 14, 12, and 9. Girl, boy, in that order. Yeah, so keep us busy playing a lot of sports and activities, and we like to travel as much as we can. We kind of got into skiing about 5 years ago, and take a few trips every year away from the flat, boring plains of Texas and up to
where do you ski
Mexico.
from there? Where do you ski from there?
Yeah, so we go up to New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, are the places we like to frequent. So far, there's more on the list to explore. So hope to hit J-Hole. Plan to go to Alaska this coming season, but that'll be a boys trip. That'll be a guys trip. So
I love Alaska. I got to go there.
Yeah,
I think I went there. It was fun.
I think there's a couple hills between you and Tyler, Texas, but I wouldn't call them ski hills. So
yeah, no, definitely not. Just like rolling hills between here and Tyler. Yeah, yeah.
We have potholes in Indiana. That's our excursion in the wintertime is dodging potholes. If you make it through without bending your rims in the winter, you done good.
For those of you who don't know, between Cameron and Tyler, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, Tyler or Cameron, but there's probably Tyler, right? There's
you just set yourself up, Richard, to screw up the names all day long.
That's right. Maybe 2 or 3 feet high, something like that. But
yeah, about right.
So you obviously invest in notes, which is why you're on the broadcast today. And we're going to talk about your case study in a little bit. But how did you kind of get into the real estate note business? And I'm sure you've done other real estate things before.
Yeah. So my wife and I have some real estate, and that's just kind of a long-term retirement plan, if you will. And gosh, I think just one day I kind of got curious, kind of just how my brain works. Sit around and ponder and wonder, and got curious about, carrying the note and instead of just the real estate. So I know a lot of folks will be in the business of seller financing, so they'll fix and flip. That wasn't me. We weren't selling a property. It was just hey, I want to go buy an already existing, originated note is kind of what I think I want to do. So, I mean, just one Saturday morning, just got out Google basically and just started diving in and talking to folks I know that had done this kind of thing, and just explored it that way. So that's kind of how I got started. Curiosity, I guess you could say.
That's cool. And we met each other last year at Note Expo, which Note Expo is kind of our big annual conference we go to every year in Dallas, close to where you guys live.
Sure.
And I met you and your wife down there last year, and kind of we stayed connected. We were you were asking questions to me, as I was you knew of me and a couple other people that had bought a few notes, and we're asking questions and stuff, and coincidentally, we kind of built a relationship over the past year with you and your wife and Richard and me, and you guys would help us with kind of the financials of our company, and then also in turn we would kind of trade and help you with some of the deals that you were going through, which is one of the deals that we're going to present today. And so just to give a shout out and testament to your financial intellect, to help run a business. Cameron's been very crucial for us really to dig into our financials and kind of understand our accounting and reporting and make things a lot more clean on our books and stuff. So we definitely appreciate, what you've added a ton of value to our business. I just want to say thanks.
Appreciate that. It's a win-win.
Absolutely. So, well, hey, without further ado, let's kind of get into the meat of our presentation today. So we're going to transition into Richard's favorite part of the program, which is the little logo sketch. So, Cameron, I don't know if you've ever been or watched the show before, but that's always Richard's favorite part.
That's the highlight of the show, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Okay.
That's as good as it gets. If you don't want it, you don't need to see any more.
Richard's ready to sign off right now. He's done.
Bye.
Okay.
So I think the reason why he likes it so much, because Richard, way back in the past, he was got a degree in urban planning and stuff. So that little like architecture sketch at the beginning of it is like, that just makes his day.
That's right.
So, all right, Cameron, we're going to buzz through some of our administrative things on our broadcast here. So our broadcast would not be possible without some sponsorship, and it's brought to you by American Note Buyers, where we've got note deals. If you go to our trade desk, you email operations@ambfunds.com. We will help you locate deals. We might even sell you deals that we have in our portfolio. We're actually selling a couple of performing loans, and we actually have, I think Richard and I were talking the other day, we have about 4 or 5 performing loans that we have on the docket that are ready to buy, and we're not able to fund all of them. So if anybody's looking for some performing deals, I mean, we got some pretty good ones. Got a couple land deals and a couple of performing regular residential notes as well. The local real estate club called CIREA, Central Indiana Real Estate Investor Association. They have an executive director. If you email them, executive director at cirea.club, you can be a part of that organization. So folks that are on this call tonight and watch the replays of our monthly broadcast, they are part of that group locally here. And I'm somebody that speaks to that group outside of this meeting as well, and kind of helps them with seller financing and other things like that. It's a great group to be a part of, because especially if you're just in real estate and invest in the Midwest, especially here in Indianapolis, there's a ton of resources here within this group. So that's why I'll be highly recommend that. We appreciate them as a sponsor. Richard, myself, Larry Gill, and Mariska Pilch all put together during COVID, we put together a note investing training program. Really, it's very economical. I think it's like $400 or $500 for it. There's about 25 to 30 videos now that are loaded on it, and it gives you kind of the grassroots foundation of real estate note investing. And then from there, you kind of figure out where you want to branch off into. And so we highly recommend that. We call it Constant Cash Flow. You can email us for more information at info@ambfunds.com. And lastly, our self-directed IRA custodian that sponsors this broadcast as well is called New View Trust Company. They're out of Florida. And you mentioned this broadcast, and they will waive the setup fee. If you email new accounts at newviewira.com, you can get yourself set up with your self-directed IRA. If you don't know what that means, you definitely just need to contact them and find out. Basically, you can take your retirement account, you convert it into something that you can invest in real estate with or lend money. Pretty simple. CIREA, this is for you guys that are on the call or watching the replay. Don't forget to check out CIREA has a Facebook, an Instagram, and a LinkedIn page and a YouTube channel. Check that out. We don't do PHP credits anymore, so we're going to move past this one, Richard. And then we have a podcast that Richard and I do, and I put other guests on there throughout the year as well. Season 5, we're on right now. We just recorded episode 21, and the name of it is called, I had to write this down, Richard, Leasing the Ground from the Crown.
Oh, okay.
You may have see, I get all of my cool little titles of these episodes by these little one-liners that Richard says. He's gold. I'm telling you, Richard is gold when it comes to one-liners. And so I just scrape what he says and throw it on there. It's great. So, anyways, you can download our podcast on any podcast directory. We're on them all. We also record this on our YouTube channel as well. So you can go to our YouTube channel, American Note Buyers, and you can check out all the previous episodes as well. I think we have, for season 5, we recorded 21 episodes already. So we're going to have 5 more episodes, Richard, before the end of the year. And then we'll kick over to season 6.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah. 21 minus 26. There we go. All right.
Yeah. Okay,
Cameron, this is the part of the presentation where I often show the Black Knight financial data. I don't show Richard this ahead of time because I want to see his reaction to it. And if he notices something, he's Home Alone look,
That's right. By the way, this is how I do my analysis on my notes too. 1, 2, this goes.
Yeah, and you skip the other fingers and you end up with just the middle one. You go, hey, I don't know how it ended up that way.
That's right.
Did you used to have the little slide rule, Richard?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
I did.
I never
didn't know how to use that either.
Well, this chart here shows the national delinquency rate. And the reason why I show this is because I want people to understand, if they haven't seen this already or realize what goes on in the mortgage business about defaults, is that at our worst time in history that we all were living in, which was the 2008 to 2010 timeframe, you notice that the dark blue line spikes way up in the air and it gets close to like 11% default rate if you move all the way to your screen left and you see the percentage rate. And then you notice it trickles down for all the way until we hit COVID, and then it just basically goes vertical 90 degrees straight up. And then it hits about 7.75 default rate because of COVID. We all know the reason why. And then it kind of sharply comes back down, and it comes down well below normalcy, which is the light green line that always says we hover right now around 4.27% at this time of the year. We're definitely hit the 3s, and we're at the very low 3s right now. So we are in a very comfortable, safe environment as far as default rates are right now. And that's just what this chart shows us. So
Justin, this is an amazing chart for 2 huge reasons, I think. And the audience may not know this. Hopefully the audience can see it. Okay. One is that whenever I'm talking to somebody about notes, they're always concerned about the big D, which is default. And so I say to them, gee, according to MBA, Mortgage Banking Association statistics, the default rate was really about 10.84%, even in the worst of times, which was 2008, 2009, which is exactly what this chart shows.
Yep.
And they say, well, how could that have been then that that started a recession? And my response is it wasn't first trust that we deal with. It was the subprimes that never should have been made in the first place. And a lot of people don't realize that. And so they get nervous about investing in notes. And this is a great tool to counteract that. The other thing is that I saw a Facebook person screaming just yesterday about how the great default tsunami is going to come upon us. And here it comes, and get ready. Not according to this chart. And, it's whatever we've seen, we've seen.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen, folks. And you and I have been saying that for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
There have been too many federal programs and things like that. So, if you were going to, if you're holding on to your cash to invest in defaults because they were going to non-performing notes because they were going to have really, really good pricing, think again.
Yeah, you're probably going to be holding on to that money for a while.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great explanation. Thanks, Richard, for doing that. The next slide, I think you'll like even more. This one's kind of fun. I only have 2 slides. I don't like to bore people too much with the Black Knight financial data slides, but they're just a really cool company that puts out reports every month that shows us what's going on. But a lot of stuff going on here. Cameron is a numbers guy, so he's looking at this and he's foaming at the mouth. I can tell you right now, he loves this data. He loves looking at these numbers and graphs. He is a data guy.
I thought that was a beard.
It is a beard. It turned into foam, though. It's starting to turn white.
Yeah. Right. A little patch of white here.
He doesn't have a lot of lighting, but you guys, he has a very well-groomed beard. It comes down quite a bit. I mean, it's almost like its own. It's like almost like an upside-down haircut. It's like, if I don't have any hair, so if I had that long beard, I would cut it, put it on top of my head, so I would have hair.
Yeah,
then you would look weird, dude.
I already do. I can't look any more weird according to my kids.
This an interesting vision of that hat with that hair and this little bitty hat sitting way up on top of it. Yeah,
there you go.
So tell us, soothsayer, what doth this chart saith?
It saitheth that ain't nobody getting any loans. It says a lot of people are not moving out of their house. It says a lot of people from, let's say, the 2018 to 20 era were smart and refinanced their loan. And that is probably, Richard, and I didn't sit there and analyze this. I'm just looking at the chart and saying there's probably 65% of the mortgages are well below this 4% range. Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like to me when I look at it. Like I said, I didn't dive into it specifically, but it just shows that a lot of people are just sitting there idle because they have a great interest rate. And by all means, they shouldn't move. I mean, unless they're forced to because of a job or, they have to relocate for some reason. But yeah, they definitely have a great loan. So I just want to show people that there's tons and tons of loans out there that have a low rate. This is why we have an inventory shortage across the country. We will continue to have an inventory storage for the next probably 2 to 3 years. In my opinion, just because things aren't changing that much with the Fed rate. The Fed rates will come down. They may not come down as aggressively as people would like, but in a normal environment, a 5 to 6.5% mortgage interest rate is actually normal and healthy. We probably will never see a time again in my lifetime, anybody's lifetime listening to this, that mortgages will probably be below 4%. I would be, I can't predict the future, but I just don't see it happening.
So do you know what the National Association of Realtors says is one of the leading, if not the leading causes of home sales and refinance?
Nope.
Divorce. So it would be interesting to overlay national statistics for the divorce rate on something like this, because actually, as America becomes more educated, the divorce rate is falling. The reason is that people are waiting later. They're not, jumping straight into some I can call
Mortgage,
them.
marriage,
They're
it's
getting
all
mortgages.
blending together.
Whew, I tell you, that's right. They're not jumping straight into a marriage that they should not, and they're waiting longer. And so more marriages are starting to last longer.
The two M's in your life, mortgages and marriages.
You know, you get me in a group of people and I'm terrible.
Well, I think you're just excited to talk about this stuff. So it's all good, man. I fumble more words than you do. I just happen to catch it when you do to poke fun at you so no one looks at me. So that's why. Shift to blame.
Fortunately, I've always been this way.
Cameron, it's time to get into your part of the presentation today, and we're going to talk about your case study. And you've bought a couple of deals before. You've actually brought some of the deals to Richard and I to look at, to get a second and third set of eyes on stuff, just to make sure you're doing things right. You've been educated well in your underwriting process. Your wife does a great job of underwriting people. She has worked for mortgage companies before, and so I've got to experience how she does her due diligence, and she does a great job. And you definitely run numbers really well. And Cameron did have a spreadsheet that he wanted me to put up here, but it was very cell oriented, and I'll just say that.
If you think the numbers on this chart are small,
very accountant, yeah.
Yeah, he had every metric that you could possibly think of on there, which is cool. I mean, I'm a nerd when it comes to numbers too, but we're going to try and make this as simple as we can for you. But this is the idea of this case study that he did. It was about hypothecations, and we're going to kind of get into it. So the first thing we like to do when we present case studies is talk about the property, because everybody wants to see what it is we're talking about. And so when Cameron was giving me this case study, he had some older pictures of the property, and I'm not sure if he knew that there was updates to it, but Google Maps has updated in this area recently in Willis Point, Texas, which I don't even know where that's at, and you can tell us where it's at.
Yeah.
Kind of east of Dallas a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Small town.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Small, but growing.
Towards
Direction.
Tyler.
Correct. Correct. That direction.
Just over the hill.
Yeah, just over that little hill.
Yeah.
Just like to point out two odd things I see in this picture, and you tell me if this is not odd in your area, but it's just odd for me. So I noticed that the electrical box is on the street-facing side of the house there.
Right.
That's odd.
I wouldn't call that, normal. But hey, if the lights come on.
You're right. Yeah. It almost looks like that was a converted one-car garage.
Yeah, it does kind of look that way. I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but yeah.
And the two
driveways. Had a dog around the back, and the electrician couldn't get back.
Yes,
true. That's it.
All that snow you get down there, they don't want the meter reader to walk through all the yard.
That's right. Yes,
there's
all that snow.
Pair of skis leaning right by the side of the door there.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Is that called snowshoeing? Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
The two driveways was unique to me. I just thought it was strange to see that small of a house with two driveways. Anybody else see anything odd?
Saves on water.
Yeah, nice parking options. That's for sure.
Well, it's a nice clean little house. I mean, for a house that you're going to have a note on, it's a nice clean little house.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a cute little house. I mean, it looks like it's well taken care of. Looks like it's got fresh paint. Looks like it's got a new. I can't tell if that's the bottom third is a brick layer that's just painted white, and then perhaps is vinyl on a lap on the upper part of it.
So what's some of the other things that we would look for if we're just looking at the house and we're under underwriting? We'll just take two seconds here.
What did Cameron look for? What did you like about this?
Yeah, just the cleanliness of the property. A common sign, not necessarily always a correlation, but many times, right? And then this was a fix and flip. So I mean, obviously it had recent intention to get it in better shape than it recently was. So yeah, that was appealing. Just knowing that it was just kind of rehabbed, and the borrower is in the construction business. I'm not saying he was the one that did the flipping, but he owns a flooring company. So that was, I liked that as well, that he was kind of in just construction in general, and probably pretty handy. And if the worst happened, probably, hopefully at least maintain the property correctly, because he had the ability to do so given his trade.
Yeah.
So those were some things that appealed to me.
Richard's favorite borrower is your guy right here.
Yeah.
Richard loves
No,
that.
yeah, no, seriously. I mean, because if the economy goes down, this guy is not working some industrial line someplace, so he's not stuck. He can be a jack of all trades. He can try and get more work. He can fix it up. The lot looks like it's a decent size. If that's his or her car, it's a decent car, right? There's no bars. There's no bars in the windows. I mean, this
There's
is
two
nice,
exhaust
clean
pipes on it.
little-
It's really cool, dude.
Yeah, it's fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, this is a nice little house.
Cool. What 2-bedroom, 1-bath? I'm guessing.
I believe it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. It's been a while since I've looked at that detail, but yeah, I believe it's 3-1. Yeah.
What do you think it is? About 1,100 square feet.
Yes. Yeah, that's about right.
Okay. This typical house in Willis Point, Texas.
Yeah, I think a good. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, good working class, house.
So how much history did you have on the note if this was a flip when you bought the note?
Not much, not much at all, actually. So that was obviously a risk, but the way I underwrote it was, to pay a risk-adjusted price.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see that here in a second.
Let's just go ahead and get into some numbers here. So we know the property value today has already jumped up to 192.8. When we get to the next slide, you'll see I think the note was written for like 140 some thousand dollars. So that was cool. Here it is. So you had bought it with 5 months of seasoning. So basically, it's a newly originated note with a couple of months of seasoning on it.
Yep.
The interest rate was 10%. The payment comes in about healthy $1,200 a month for 30 years. So that's why you see the 355 instead of 360 up there.
Yep.
So you are a good negotiator and you understood the risk. You like the property, obviously the value. Do you know how much down payment was?
I don't have that in front of me. I want to say it was 10 to 15%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you offered 110 for it, or did you have to negotiate to get to 110?
Trying to remember. It's been a while, but yeah, I think we did a little negotiation.
Okay.
And he was reasonable, and yeah, so we landed at the 110.
You didn't have to give him your first child or anything like that?
We didn't go that far. No.
Oh, okay. All right.
The offer still pending based on the child. The rate is 13. So the yield becomes a 13.15%, which is a great yield, right? That's a gross yield. And so you're getting $1,231 a month, and you were buying the entire note for $355. So all that information is accurate. I got that down right.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So what was your plan on now that you've figured out what you wanted to buy it for? How are you going to pay for this?
Well, one quick question. Did you do this? Yeah. Did you do this in your IRA? I'm sorry. I think I intersected that.
No.
Question when I
No. Actually, I did not. So I decided to use other people's money for this deal, and just the arbitrage play, right? To make a spread. Wanted a spread on a passive investment. So and it has been just that thus far. So I've got a pretty solid relationship with some bankers here in town, and one of them, I talked to him about if he would be willing to lend on this, and he said yes, under some particular terms and circumstances. So with that being the case, I used a local community bank as my funding source.
So they financed the purchase of the note?
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. That's very hard to do. Very difficult.
Very hard to do.
A lot of people say, "Oh, gee, I'm going to do this," and they don't realize that. Unless you've got a huge relationship with somebody, which you probably do.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. We've done quite a bit of other business together, and still do. So if I walked in off the street, I have a hunch that it wouldn't have gone. It wouldn't have been just a yes, right? An automatic yes, but just given the relationship and the trust that has been built, and doing what I say I'm going to do and always paying on time, no matter what. I think that certainly carried weight in him being willing to, partner on this one, to fund this one.
All right, so let's dive deeper into what you borrowed to what you did here. So here's the numbers laid out now, horizontal wise, as opposed to looking at the vertical, just so that we can run down the path here. And so you mentioned arbitrage. That is the correct term on what we're doing, but you also hit a term hypothecation. So we just initialized this as made the initials hypo for hypothecation. So you actually didn't borrow the 110 because your lender probably wanted you to have some skin in the game. And so you were able to get, it looks like about 96, 97% of what you were going to purchase it for.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a prime rate, 7% at the time that you got this. So your payment now is going to be $824 a month, and it's going to be amortized over 20 years, but there's a 5-year balloon on it, which isn't too important right now, but it is something we're going to bring up at the end and talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. You want me to elaborate on this?
We'll get deeper into it, but if you want to bring up something right now, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on something you said that kind of jumped out, and folks may be wondering about, like, why 96, 97%, why not 100, or why not 85 or something more round? And the quick answer on that is, like I mentioned a minute ago, just a limitation, a condition of what they were willing to fund. So they were willing to fund 85% of the BPO. So I had a drive-by appraisal done, and based on that, and it was really like the lowest. There's a lot of times 3 different amounts on that. It was the lowest, so the most conservative number. They said, well, we'll loan 85% of that number, kind of regardless of what I was paying for it.
Yeah.
So that's where their limit came. So I basically then paid the difference. So it shook out to be a few grand out of my pocket.
Which, I mean, heck, I'd love to have a few grand into something and still get a cash flow in return.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you guys are going to see the numbers here in a second. And you know what I mean. So basically, it was 140K was the original loan amount. 5 payments came in, so it only went down less than $100 as far as a UPB there, and the down payment was probably 15,000 ish to almost 20,000. So they probably paid 160 for it. It says it's worth 192 right now, which tells you real estate has obviously gone up quite a bit since you did the BPO on this, which was probably a year ago. I'm not sure how long you've had this, but your out of pocket to buy this note was $3,750, right? Of cash. I don't know if it's IRA or just cash.
It's just cash. Yeah.
So now if we want to focus on the cash on cash return, or also known as the yield on your money. So we're just talking about what you are earning on the $3,750. You're earning 130%. And that's not a typo. That's not a decimal that moved. It's actually 130%.
So explain to us how that works.
Yeah. Me or Justin?
Doesn't matter. You can go.
Yeah. So cash on cash return is a metric I use for the real estate that I purchase, and simply the amount of cash flow divided by per year. That's an important part of it. Divided by my down payment. The cash that I've invested in the property. So 3,750 was what I put into it, and we'll see here in a second, I believe. But what I get out of it every year is $407 a month, and almost $5,000 a year. So pretty nice deal. I like it.
Yeah, it's a very good cash flow.
It's a wonderful deal, and also it's fantastic that you got such a high loan to value on the loan. But just to make it a little more succinct so the audience can understand, you were collecting 13%, you're paying 8% on 97% roughly of that loan. So you're getting a 5% override on 95% of it with nothing out the door. And that's what's driving this yield.
That was a lot of percents, Richard.
Mhm.
It can get confusing fast. Luckily, Cameron, this is like an elementary thing for him, and for the rest of us, we're just like, I need to write that down and walk through it 3 times real quick.
Right.
But the cool thing about the cash on cash return, if you're thinking about how much of his money is in this deal, we're saying he's getting a return of 130%. But Richard's right. There is a 5.5 to 6% override there between the true loan against the true debt. But his cash is what we're trying to figure out how much he's making. So if imagine he can do this 15, 20 times with $4,000 a pop each time and make 130% return. Whoa. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. It's only going to take you 9.25 months to get to break even. I mean, think about that. You have a 5-year call on your note that you got a debt on. Okay. It's a 20-year AM, but after 5 years, you have to decide whether you're going to pay it off or you're going to, I don't know, you could probably recast the loan or redo the loan and maybe get a different rate. Maybe the rates will be lower then. And then 4 years from now, how long have you had this note and been making money on it?
About 1.25 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah, a little over a year.
Cool. Yeah, so that'll work out great. Rates will be down. They'll probably be maybe down to 5.5, hopefully 6% by then.
We'll
So
see.
Cameron, just out of curiosity, did the bank make you guarantee that loan?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So they're not just taking the asset as the collateral.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, right, Richard? There's nothing wrong with that. It is something that you would prefer not to do, right?
Mhm.
But sometimes you have to do it, and this is a great deal. He's getting good cash flow every month. If you were getting less than $200 a month, I'd probably say this probably isn't worth the risk with the amount of money that the bank's lending on it.
Yeah.
I probably would say you probably wouldn't want to do it, but this is a great deal to show that you can get $5,000 a year as long as it's paying, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what's the worst that happens? They don't pay or they skip a couple payments. By then, you've built up enough money in the bank to where you can sustain paying that debt service if you need to, if the borrower has any hiccups. So there's lots of protection for anything that happens. I think we lost Richard. He just disappeared into the ether.
Sorry, the sun is falling, and I had the reflection of a windshield hitting me right between the eyes.
You had like a laser coming in.
Exactly. I'm sitting here going, and all of a sudden I'm realizing I can't see the screen.
Am I at the eye doctor? What's going on? I see these black spots now. That's cool. If you guys have any questions about Cameron's deal, please use the comment section on whatever medium you're on. Well, you're on X. I was going to say Twitter. It's X, LinkedIn, Facebook, our Facebook group, and then also here on YouTube. We'd be happy to answer your questions.
Use X the same way we use Twitter?
Do you use it the same way? Is that what you said?
Can one? Yeah. I mean, can we use it to get comments on the show like this and that type of thing?
Yeah, I believe we are streaming it to X.
Okay.
And I think they still call them tweets, but I'm not sure. But
Elon hasn't said this is too controversial.
I don't know. It's difficult for me to say X. I like the logo. The logo looks cool, but I just still want to say Twitter or tweets.
Right.
That's just me. Are you on Twitter, Cameron, or X?
I've got an account. I'm not very active.
Okay.
He's being sued. There's another company that's already called X in Florida. So he's being sued for using copyright.
No, they're called 10.
But I'm punch.
That's my dad.
They're all Romans.
Be sure and tip your waitress. I'll be here a week. So another way to look at this, if you might be confused, we'll look at a timeline of payments coming in. So $1,231 are coming into Cameron every month. It's going to Cameron because he's technically the note owner.
Right.
And of that $1,231 that comes in, he has to push back out $824 to his local community bank. And then what's left over is the $407. So it's almost like when you have a mortgage on a rental and you get $1,000 mortgage payment that comes in. $1,000 rental payment that comes in from rent. And then you have to give $500 to your mortgage company and then, whatever else to management and taxes and insurance, and you keep the rest. It's similar to that, but you don't have any headaches of owning that property.
No.
This is what banks do all the time. They all do it. They do it on a different scale. They do it with other banks, other larger banks, and they do it against, entire portfolios. But we as smaller investors are able, and Cameron is one of the few people that I know have actually talked to a local community bank that has gotten a relationship to where you can lend, kind of one-to-one with an institution like that. Rich and I both use private investors to do this relationship hypothecation, but bank's pretty cool.
Yeah, believe me, I've talked to a number of community and smaller banks to do this, and they say no way. Now, part of the reason that is because I'm sitting here in California, and an average note is a $600,000 or $700,000 note, so the numbers are much bigger. When I go out of state, they won't go out of state, so that's where you're caught. So you kind of have to do this in your backyard, and kudos to you for being able to pull this off, because this is a very, very rare deal.
Have you came across a lot of real estate loans in your backyard?
Texas is a big backyard, but
Yeah.
and my lender would prefer, Texas, Texas notes or real estate on Texas, in Texas. So, quite a bit.
That's awesome. Congratulations. This was a great case study. It's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds complicated, but it really isn't. When it comes down to it, he just
really
borrowed
not.
money. That's all he did. He just borrowed money, and we're showing how he paid it back.
Yeah, I see it as that simple. Obviously, the loan agreements are not short. There's a lot of words, but the concept's pretty darn simple.
Yeah, you're right. The mechanics of it and the documentation of it, that can get complex, but this is where, title companies come in handy and attorneys come in handy to do proper documentation. But the concept of it is very simple, very clean, and very profitable. And hopefully you can keep doing more and more and more of these. Obviously with cash is great. And your retirement account is even better, because it's almost like a partial at this point.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, overall, it's 130% return right now, which is fantastic. But even if it rolls out and you stay in the deal for the next 10 years or something like that, you're going to still end up with like a 50 or 60% return. It's just kind of a no-brainer. You'd want to do this.
Well, and honestly, I would have been perfectly happy with, putting zero cash in, so if I would have paid, about $4,000 less for the note, then the bank would have funded all of it. So, then that number wouldn't work, because you'd be, dividing by zero or dividing zero by something else. And
it's an infinite return at that point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So that was honestly what I was trying to do. But then when the BPO came back and they used, he wanted to use that low number, which I totally understand.
Exactly.
Then it required me to put a little bit of cash in. So. Yeah, but I've already gotten that back because 9 months has passed, right?
That's true. Yeah. So you're money ahead now.
So I've got some.
Cameron, that sounds a little bit like to me about the batter who complained about hitting the home run. The ball landed in the front part of the stands as opposed to the back part of the stands.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a home run.
Yeah.
I hear that. Yeah.
Wins a win. So your bank would have been okay lending you money. So let's say you got the purchase price for $100,000. Would the bank still lend you $106,250, and you could pocket the $62.50?
No, I couldn't pocket anything. They would just lend up to what I paid for it. That would be a ceiling, if you will.
So that would be the one difference between the institution and a private lender. A private lender, you might be able to get to borrow as much as you can and actually put money in your pocket. It doesn't happen very often at all, but it is a possibility. You still have a great deal. I'd be happy to pay $4,000 for that loan, and then I know in 9 months I'm getting my money back. That's unheard. I'd do that all day long. I wouldn't care.
Yep.
So great job on this. Great job explaining this. And we'll kind of step through a couple of things real quick, and then we'll open it up to some more questions and stuff. So guys, feel free to throw the comments in, ask questions about this deal, or if anything was confusing, we're happy to walk through it. We got several minutes we can spend on talking about this, or any specific questions for Cameron about that.
One more thing I'd like to add. It's not in the presentation, but it's just the equity that I'm building up really as every month goes by, because my amortization is on 20% year term, or sorry, not 20%, 20-year term.
Mhm.
And my asset, the loan, the note, is on a 30. So, if you just run two amortization tables and put them side by side, and subtract this number from that number, you can see the equity kind of build up over time, because I pay down my loan at a faster rate than my asset. So that's pretty cool. So if I decide I want or need to sell the loan next week, or in 10 years from now, that equity is building up. It's not just the cash flow that I get now. It's that equity growth as
That's
well.
a really good point that a lot of higher end note investors don't understand or take advantage of, because you have that delta between the two principal balances on those AM schedules that just
Right.
grows every time. That's
Yeah.
a wonderful way to think of it.
Yeah,
It's called covering your asset.
Covering your asset.
I like it.
All right. Well, we buy loans too. We buy land contract for deeds, note and mortgages, note and deed of trust, lease options. As long as it's a first lien residential property, we're more than likely going to take a crack at it. We will take a swing at non-performers, sometimes commercial deals as well. Scan this QR code, rewind back this replay if you're watching it, and you can scan that QR code to get to our note quote form. We're happy to quote you a note probably within 24 to 48 hours. And lastly, before we get to some questions, we are going to let you know that next November 8th from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be back live on our YouTube and Facebook channel and all the other stuff we stream on, like my LinkedIn channel, Twitter. I don't think we're on Instagram. I don't know if we do Instagram Live. I don't even know if that's possible. Is that possible? I feel like it is possible. Anyways, if you're interested in our fund that we have as well to invest in it, you can contact us at investors@anbfunds.com. Otherwise, please join our private Facebook group. If you look for Be the Bank Real Estate Note Investing, you see our American Note Buyers logo in there. You'll know you're in the right place. Ask to join, answer some questions, and have some fun. And if you'll excuse me, Richard will answer that phone, and we will transition into the next part of our broadcast. Richard, if they handed out gold medals for interrupting live broadcasts with cell phone calls, buddy,
I got it.
You'd be the gold medalist.
I thought I was on flight mode, but I'm not. So
Flight mode.
I flunked.
Your little last comment you made, Cameron, about that principal balance, that was really cool. Thanks for bringing that up. I don't think we've ever brought that up before, because it's hard to explain, but I think the way that you explained it made a lot of sense. So.
Yeah.
Richard, what stood out about that deal that we just showed today that you thought, that's pretty interesting?
Well, beside the return, I mean, I just the fact that you were able to get a loan from a community bank, that's just hats off to you. I have done a lot of calling on a lot of local banks and got absolutely nowhere. And so hats off for you. I would do as many of those local deals as I possibly could. If they're willing to lend on you like that, then that's because you're right. I mean, you build up 10 or 12 of those, you're building up your equity. So even though you've got a guarantee on it, if one goes south, you can take that equity and throw to the loan. You've got diversity in your portfolio, and it's at that rate of return, you're building a win-win really quickly. So,
yep.
What was the? Did you have any hesitancy when you were thinking about buying this loan? Because I know this wasn't your first loan, but it was probably one of the few that you bought last year, right?
It actually was my first one. The hesitancy was, I guess, just from insecurity of inexperience, right? But just went nice and slow and was very thorough, and honestly, the seller was really great to work with, which was nice. I would say he was very patient, and because I didn't just write him a check, right? So I needed to line things up on my end. So the closing took a bit longer than probably desired by him and me. But so he was patient. So that made things go pretty well. And he called me actually a couple months ago saying, "Hey, I got another one. You know, do you want to buy it?" So he's a fix and flipper, right? So he's in the business of, when he needs to, originating, you know, these notes and then selling them. So we haven't closed on that deal. We're strongly considering it. The one he called about not long ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long did it take to close this loan from the time you had the opportunity to look at it to the time you actually funded it? If you guess,
Yeah,
guess.
it's been a little while, obviously, but I want to say like 45 days or so.
You said 45?
Yeah, about 45 days, about a month and a half.
With the bank involved, I would have guessed it would have taken longer, but that's pretty good.
Yeah. The bank was able to move pretty quick. It was more, I guess, just me kind of being, more slow again, out of just kind of the hesitancy and new territory for me. But just, yeah, all turned out well.
If you had funded this with your self-directed IRA, do you think they would have balked at that?
The seller?
Yeah, no, not the seller, the bank, your bank, because some banks don't like to lend to IRA funds.
Yep.
Good question. I don't know.
I mean, because obviously that's a way to increase your yield even more. If you're in a Roth, you're not paying taxes on it at all. If you're in a regular IRA SEP, you're delaying your taxes until you're 65 or 70. So there's quite a multiplier in there.
Yeah. There's one way to find out.
Just ask, just curious.
Hey, dude. Well, cool. I liked it. I thought the cool factor of it was the small community bank.
Yeah.
You did your AM schedules a little different than I would do, but I kind of like the way that you did it better, because it does make more sense to have the delta between the two principal balances just kind of accelerate even more. Like you said, to give you more equity, phantom equity, as I think is what we like to call it. With that. So yeah, great deal. We don't have any questions on the board currently, but guys, if you do, you can always add comments to this broadcast when you watch the replay of it, and we can chime in at a later time and get back with you. Cameron, do you have I forgot to put your contact information out there. I'm not sure if you want to be contacted, because if they heard that you did our books, they probably want them to do their books too.
Yeah, not really in public accounting anymore, and stay pretty busy with other endeavors. But yeah, happy to get an email. Email address is Cameron, CAMERON, at bosque-capital.com. So Bosque is spelled BOSQUE. Looks like bisque, but with an O instead of an I. And again, -capital.com. I'm not sure if Justin's able to type that somewhere where everybody can see it, but that's my email address.
It's done, and we'll throw it up here so those of you can see that.
Got it right.
At bosquecapital.com. Bosque, is that a name of a town or a city?
Yeah, so it's a county right next to the county that I live in, and it's also a river that there's actually a lower and a middle and a north Bosque river that flows into the lake in this area. So I grew up swimming in the middle Bosque River a lot as a kid, and there's an elementary called South Bosque, so it's just a locally recognized name, Spanish for forest.
Okay, very cool. We learned a lot today. Richard,
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
I'm good. Anything else I would have to be nonsense, so I better just be quiet.
We love Richard. We love him so much. All right, Cameron, thank you so much for being on our broadcast today and talking about your case study. I know you didn't think it had a wow factor to it, but the rest of us thought it was pretty cool about how you just borrowed money from the bank and then how the numbers work. I thought it was very well done. So great job with that. Yeah. And for those of you on the broadcast now, thanks for joining us live, and thanks for watching the replay. If you're watching the replay of it right now, reach out to us anytime. You got Cameron's information too. Please don't ask him who that bank is, because they're probably only going to lend to Cameron. So sorry. I asked the same question
in your own backyard too. So
yeah. So, all right, guys, we'll see you next month, November 8th. All right. See ya.
All right.
All right. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.